Hello there, welcome to the second Wolfram Language Design Review of the day. This is part of our incremental language development series. We have several topics here. Actually, one that I'd like to add is this nesting pattern thing that just came up again in the notebook programming discussion. Okay,
What is nesting pattern?
It
I'm not
means
familiar
it
with that
means
name.
that you have, well, it doesn't exist yet, but if you have a thing like this, how do you, the analog of, dot dot. What is the analog of dot dot for deepening?
Hmm.
And that's relevant because we want things where you can do a search in a notebook for section, heading, blah, and then somewhere inside that section, at arbitrary depth, something else.
But the
Okay.
heads have to be the same one, or they could be different
No, I
heads.
think it'd be different. I don't know. This requires
Yeah,
more.
that's a big
Mhm.
topic. I mean, I'm happy to add that either here or to LCC, but that's a
Mhm.
big topic that we shouldn't just jump
I know,
into
I know,
without
I know, I know,
preparation.
I know. I'm not. I just wanted to get it on the docket. Okay, outward facing ticks.
Yep. So this is a suggestion I think that's come up a couple of times. By default, ticks face inward. There are ways to get the ticks to face outward, but they're
But they're really
generally
grotesque.
inelegant. So yeah, I think there's a general consensus this would be nice, but the question is, how do we want to specify that? Is it part of the frame tick specification? Is it a new option?
Look, I think we should go to a association based way of specifying flame ticks. Because I think there are a lot
Agreed.
of what's that? Right? So
Agreed.
I think this should be part of that association rather than introducing a bunch of new options.
So frame ticks goes to association, including
Yep.
something like frame tick direction,
Yeah, and I
length,
think that
etc.
what should happen is, like, I can never remember. I have to look it up every single time, left, right, top, bottom,
Yeah.
where the frame ticks are.
Yeah, a number of
And
those positional options are cumbersome.
right. And so I think it should be frame ticks arrow, left arrow, blah, 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 blah. And then the left arrow, automatic or something, would give what the frame ticks are on the left, frame, whatever. And then within that, we can then say, um, um, because you might want one ticks going out and one tick going in and all kinds of stuff, right? And sorry, each one of those individual frame tick, edges could then be an association itself with more detail. Does that
I
make
mean,
sense?
do we? I mean, I agree that there's room for sort of improving frame tick specifications, but for this specific problem of outward facing ticks, do we just want like a new string value or a new symbolic value for frame ticks that says, be automatic, but go to the other side? I know. Would that upset
I
John?
don't know. I don't know. Maybe for this particular thing, it's kind of an annoying general issue, and maybe we just want a total bank switch. Maybe as you have it, a complete bank switch possibility. I mean, we've got label rotation type stuff.
Right. I mean, so the plan that the thing that we're working on like right now as one of the projects is that things like ticks, frame ticks would become association based, similar to what you were saying with, left goes to this or right goes to that or whatever. And the things that would be in the association would be largely the options to access object, where access object has lots of control over these sorts of things of which way do things point, is the tick label on the same side of the axis as the tick, or is it on opposite sides? Right now they're on opposite sides by default. But if you're pointing the frame ticks outward, then you want them on the same side still. How long they are, I think easier
That's good,
control
but
over
okay,
how
but
many.
guy, I mean, an axis thing that's in a curlicue pattern, how do you specify in and out there?
In and out is relative to the center of the graphic.
Right, so it can change from as you go along the curly cue.
If you have
Right.
a snake axis, it could change.
It could, and this happens in astrographics, for example, which is using, very curved axes in some places.
Interesting. Do we have in geoplots, do we also have curved axes in geoplots?
Not yet.
Jose would really like them.
Yeah. And I was thinking right now that in Geo we have another situation, which is that the ticks are between two lines. And then there is this black and white alternation so that you see clearly
Right.
those ticks. So it's this kind of almost checked board type of access.
Right.
One
like
stripe of a
surveyor's
checkerboard.
thing. Yeah.
Yep. So it would be great to have something that automatically handles that. But if not, I think I can produce that myself.
Okay. So look, the direction here, let's come back to another meeting, please, with the frame ticks, etc. association specification. The question of whether we want to have a bank switched option like this, I don't know. What do other people think?
I think if it's not a lot of work, it's a nice convenience feature, but I don't know how much interplay between options get complicated for you, Brett
And also John.
and John. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Go ahead, Brett.
I was gonna say the way that we are looking at this, I don't think it will affect John's team much.
Okay, right. I guess my personal feeling is that graphics has enough options. If there's a simple way, if the new association handles this, or if we're adding new associations, well, if there's like I said, maybe we want also to have a few like string out as the frame text option, which is automatic, but the other side. I suppose that's less flexible because that only gives you the automatic, but maybe in the association way, you could just do it just as easily.
All right, let's find out what the association thing is going to be. I'm not fundamentally objecting to this. I think it should be outward, not out.
Yeah,
Outward.
especially since
Yeah.
out is ahead.
Yeah.
Indeed.
I mean, outward is actually what tick direction uses as an
Right,
option
okay.
for axis object.
Sorry, tick direction. There's already a tick direction?
As an option to axis object.
Well, why don't we just have that be?
Because there's 20 options to axis object, and we don't want to add them all to graphics.
But maybe we should have a way to put them in.
That's what the association is that we were just talking about.
Okay, fine. So then there's going to be a thing that says axis options, which is a key in the association. Then you can give a big list of these things.
Something like that, yes.
Okay, all right, fine. Let's move on. I think we're going to bring this back, hopefully in the next couple of weeks or a few weeks with, okay, new graphics primitives.
Yep. So these are all things that have been suggested through WFR or something else. This first one, vertex arc, is a pretty basic function. It's just drawing the arc between two angles, or the two arms of an angle. In talking with Jose, we were thinking rather than just drawing the arc, it's actually sometimes useful to be able to draw an angle on graphics or potentially geographics as well. And I'm not sure, this is kind of my first attempt at reasonable syntax for it, but I'm not exactly sure what parameters we would want in all cases.
So this is a way of drawing the angle like we're seeing there.
Yeah. Hmm.
Right, yeah, because right in oh dear, my brain's not working. The
Geometric scene stuff?
geometric scene. Thank you, Brett.
This would have been useful for that.
Yeah.
I don't Dan had, not Danny, but Dan McDonald, had to put in all sorts of stuff and they're like extra stuff in order because, the styling, right? It's like, well, we're drawing this thing which isn't normally there. And how do you style that? So having a sort of a built-in primitive would have been quite useful.
Along those lines, for geometric constructions, having the little right angle square at the vertex of perpendicular vectors is also useful, unless we have some easy way to do that already, which
Yeah.
does not occur
I
to
mean,
me.
conceivably, it could be automatic on this, through this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if you
good
have a
point.
90-degree angle, it
Good
just
point.
gives
Could
you a
have
square
options
instead
for
of
it.
an
Yep.
arc.
Okay, but how many things like this are there? I mean, Jose was bringing up surveyor's scales or whatever for maps. There are, in a sense, we have this notion of icon data, and I'm unclear whether this is, like moon phase or something, the and we have, what is the icon version?
I think
of
it's just
that?
called icon is the property.
Okay, but within icon data, we have, don't we have a whole bunch of different kinds of things?
Icon data has a handful of parameterized things like moon phase, 50% or whatever. And then we have the icon entities.
Not add this angle thing as an icon data object.
Well, I mean, I think, the use people are thinking of here is that you want, the angle as part of your graphic, living natively in the coordinate system.
Yes.
Maybe we need a way to have icon data other than an inset having icon data anchored.
But wait a minute. Sometimes instead of just the little angle arc, you want to also show which angles are congruent. And that's commonly done by putting a 1, 2, or 3 line segments in the middle of it that are radial from the center and bisect it. So it's not just the little arc thing. You might want to put some annotation on the little arc thing.
Okay, but this is an icon of some kind, right? It's not, this isn't, I don't think this is a core kind of, I think it's like a bunch of these icons, it's something, an iconic representation of something, isn't it?
I don't think so.
You really think this is a fundamental thing that is?
I use it hundreds of times if I'm doing geometric figures.
I mean, I view it as something closer to arrow and arrowheads.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
Is
Sorry,
this
I was
some
muted.
sort?
I was trying to say that I agree 100% with the arrow analogy, right? This is something that lives in the coordinate system, right? Icon data, right? It produces something,
right,
but it's
fine.
not something that lives in.
All right. I'm retracting that.
Yeah, I could see a variant of it where you say, I just want an icon that shows a 90-degree angle.
Right.
But
It's a
What
different
about a
thing.
gauge? One of these gauges we have?
yeah.
Engages are their own thing.
And
I don't understand how you want to embed this. Which part of this do you want? Just this piece? Given that I have two lines, are the lines part of this, or is it just the little thingy dingy here?
The WFR that originally was looking at was just the little thing. What I'm implementing there is both the lines and the arc showing the angle.
right, see the 3 points
Yeah,
defining
I
the
understand.
lines.
Is that what we want?
I think it's more useful than just having a fractional circle.
But Where
I
would
mean,
this
I'm
be
not
used?
sure. I mean, like if I'm building something up, what I'm imagining is I do like regular polygon or something. And then I,
Look,
put,
the analogy,
these little arcs into it as well.
guys, the analogy is that what we did with arrow is arrow contains a line. See what I'm saying? So this contains two lines, basically. Is that correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Or a single multi-line, depending on your point of view.
Mm-hmm. But, basically this is, whatever it is, angle indicator or something.
In
And it
terms
either
of,
yeah,
sorry, in terms of syntaxes, perhaps we should look at planar angle.
Right. I mean, do we just need more option? Do we just need options to planar angle?
no, planar angle is not a graphics object. That first example
Oh.
there,
Oh, that's right. But
Yeah,
don't we have where am I
just to
thinking?
imitate the syntaxes, the possibilities.
right. So it seems to me,
Right. So
here's what's useful.
but don't
Yeah,
we
go
use
ahead.
those like in geometric scene or Ian
I
just
put an example in chat.
Right, yeah. See, we use planar angle inside of, I guess it evaluates outside of geometric scene, but right. Yeah.
The point is, if there's a fact about angles, then the formatting for geometric scene puts these angle indicators in there. So one of the hypotheses says that planar angle ABC is 30 degrees, and so that gets an angle indicator.
Right, that's why I'm getting confused.
So to me,
we never managed to have the little tick marks for, these two angles are congruent, these other two angles are congruent to each other, but not to the other pair.
Okay, angle indicator could just take two lines. I mean, it could also take arrows and God knows what else, right?
Mhm.
You don't want to have
Right.
to specify in here, right? So then the question is,
Could it take a polygon and then add it to each of the vertices?
don't see why it shouldn't. I mean, then what it does is it finds the intersecting coordinates here and adds this. And it probably needs the same test, just for good measure. Right, it adds an angle indicator wherever it's in this situation, wherever there's an intersecting, point there. So then it adds it to polygon. I mean, does it add it on the inside or the outside?
I was going to ask if, what kind of control it needs for exterior angles.
It needs something for that.
Yeah, I think by default we're typically on the inside, but yeah, we do want some control. You may want the outer arc, obviously.
So what about curves, Bezier curves and things? This, I think it has to have coordinates that are literal and agree.
Mhm. Yeah, I think otherwise it's going to be really complicated.
Okay. I think angle indicator sounds like a good name.
Okay.
And it seems reasonable.
Sorry, I'm not sure the main syntaxes should be lines. So the main application I have in mind is an angle at a point and between two directions. Like
That's fine. So then use this syntax here and it will
right.
draw the whole thing. So in other words, angle indicator of, P1, PA, PB or something, P0, P1, whatever it is,
Right.
right? That would just draw a thing like this.
Mhm.
and with the current line environment.
Okay.
Okay, so planar angle already has an exterior wrapper.
Yeah, there's clockwise, counterclockwise, interior, exterior, and full exterior.
Okay, fine.
What's full exterior?
It's the 360 degrees minus the interior angle, rather than 180 degrees minus the interior angle.
Ah, okay.
This seems useful, I think. I mean, wait a minute. That's well defined. 2 points. Am I being confused? Is there a single circle? Wait a minute. No, there obviously isn't a single circle between 2 points. It's only if you give the radius there's a single circle, right?
Not even then.
There's 2 circles.
It could go either way, yeah. Yeah, this has a default assumption for the radius, but you can specify a different radius.
Why isn't this just circle or circular arc through?
It's basically a convenience for generating a circle. I mean, obviously the output is a circle here.
But wait a minute. What is there a circular arc through? Yes.
Yep.
So then what the hell's the problem? I don't understand why this isn't the same thing. Isn't this the same?
Not
What's the difference?
quite.
The radiuses are different.
Well, circular arc
Oh yeah,
through
that's giving a
Right.
half circle rather than a.
rather than what? What's the default radius?
It's probably defaulting to center 0, 0 and radius 1.
Well, it can't be 0, 0 because 0, 0 is in the.
Oh. You're right.
Well, I don't understand the difference. Circular arc through seems like the right thing. I don't understand what this is.
I didn't know that this worked for 2 points. That's surprising to me.
Right, and clearly it's just, right, right, it's preferring to go counterclockwise, and it gave you the semicircle.
Okay, but I don't understand what this is supposed to do.
Well, I guess we'd have to look at the documentation for it, but is it giving you like
Probably
a
assuming a
quarter-
circle at the origin.
Yeah.
or, well, clearly not, since one of the
Not.
points is at the origin. I mean, it looks like it's giving you like a quarter circle, but
Uses the distance between the 2 points if you don't give a radius.
That seems totally random.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced here. Circular arc through seems to have done it. Okay, annulus 3D. We already have annulus, right?
Yeah. I don't know. There's a number of proposed ones through the WFR that have this rounded property. I don't think we want to generalize like
No,
rounded
I think we
wrapper,
want a wrapper
but
that makes things rounded.
well, that was my first question with it is, do we want
Don't we have
rounded
rounding
wrapper?
radius in many functions, in many things we have a
Mhm,
rounding
mhm.
radius?
Yeah, with
Why not
particularly
just
in the
add a
box
rounding
world.
radius to, if we have, okay, the question of annulus 3D depends on what the, PDE people want. It seems quite useful to the PDE people, but I would have thought that what we want, I mean, right now we have a cylinder, right, which has a line as a generator.
Right.
And we have a tube as well. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the idea here would be it's basically a hollow cylinder.
Mhm.
I would ask Oliver and the PDE people whether they care about this.
Okay.
What do other people think? I think this is a decent thing to have. It's easier to support.
I
mean-
think it's nice, but I don't like the name. When I saw Annulus 3D, I was thinking more of a torus than
So was
about
I.
this.
So was I.
So this is more like
Hollow
a
cylinder.
cylindrical something.
It's a hollow cylinder.
Well, it's really a cylindrical annulus, or an annular cylinder, I guess.
That's otherwise known as, okay, so annular cylinder.
Don't we have a shell region? Is this a shell region?
Don't think it is.
What
Could
is
we just generalize this to something like graphics product? That's basically region product, except it makes graphics primitives.
Well, but regions are graphics primitives generally, so
Well, yeah, I mean, but you would use it directly within like a graphics 3D.
I wonder whether cylinder could take a pair of radii instead of a number, like disk or circle.
Well, you mean to make it a elliptical cylinder?
Now, he means an inner and outer radius.
Well, I understand, but what about an elliptical cylinder? We don't have that, do we? That would be the
Elliptical.
direct analog of a disk.
Oh, sorry. Yes. I was confused.
What is a solid shell? I don't understand what this is doing. I almost checked. So why is this? Why is this not convex hull? And why the hell is convex hull not in the C alsos here?
I mean, I think this is
In the C also of
something-
shell region, because that's not
Look.
oh.
Look. What is the difference between the shell region and the convex hull mesh?
the convex hull mesh there is that inner bit, and the shell region is the puffed out version of
Yeah,
it.
but how much does it puff?
Whatever the second argument is.
But it doesn't have a second argument by default. So what is it?
No idea.
Okay,
Ask Charles.
I know, but I'm telling you, this should have a C also to convex hull. Because it is the convex hull, isn't it?
No,
No.
absolutely not.
It's the puff
The
out.
convex hull is just creating a shape to put the shell region around in that example.
Okay, but if
if
I gave a bunch of points,
the convex hull is the minimal closed surface that encloses everything, right? Minimal closed convex region, right? That has nothing to do with this, which can be arbitrary and puffs it out.
okay, I don't understand this at all.
Try
Right,
pointing
you need to
on
start.
right
Need to start with a. You need to start with a.
So what is this? Do we know?
So I think that's extruding
Right,
from
shell region is an extrusion of the convex hull of these particular points. Just like if you gave it a sphere, right? It's the you know, you now have a, you know, what I would call a shell region, right? I would call a shell, right, a hollowed out sphere.
What the hell's that?
Well, do graphics 3D of that, and you'll see.
It's another cuboid. It's a puffed cuboid of some kind.
Yes. Right,
Okay,
right,
but
and
with some puffing factor.
right. It's a region with you know, yes, right. I guess do we think? Yeah, I guess do we think of the cuboid as the surface or as the interior? I don't know if cuboid, I actually don't know for cuboid. Does cuboid have a volume or does it have an area? Yeah, so I guess it's a somewhat puffed out cuboid.
Yes. Okay, I don't understand shell region, but I also don't understand. Okay, so with respect to, is this an important enough thing, an annular cylinder? Is that an important enough construct that it's worth? I mean, there are an awful lot of pipes in the world. It does seem like a concept that is, seems like a reasonable concept, although you're typically going to want it as a tube, not as a straight cylinder. Please ask the PDE people, bring that back.
Okay.
And rounding radius is something we should look at adding.
Yeah,
Yeah,
these are
I
just
mean,
some popular instances of it. So I
right.
think,
Well, that's
again,
great.
having a
I think
general-
these are lovely, but why
Mhm.
don't we consider adding rounding radius to these primitives?
Yeah,
Does
I think that makes sense. Be systematic.
What's a rounded cylinder? Like the top is,
Bevel.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
chamfered
Basically,
in.
the
These are
hard
lovely.
edges get.
Rounding radius seems like the right way to do this. Unless we want to construct in, how do we do that in region objects? Or do we have the graphics objects and then just turn them into regions?
Yeah, maybe I'll ask Charles if there's a
Okay.
reasonable structure for regions.
I'm not even going to comment.
Yeah, these ones are, I mean, I think spherical cap is maybe interesting. The flanges were just surprisingly popular on WFR, so I wanted to include them. But
Spherical cap does seem useful, and I'd like to consider that. It's also possible that just like in circle, we have a syntax that indicates an incomplete circle, that we could do that for sphere as well.
mm,
We look
yeah,
into that.
I was gonna ask, can't we do this through sphere? I guess
I
not.
would-
Well, I
think
mean,
that
what
we
are the
can.
boxes on that?
What are the what?
If you unformat that cell, the graphic. Okay, it's turned into a
B-spline.
B-spline surface.
Yeah.
I think we should try and generalize the sphere syntax.
Right,
And the
because it
ball
may not
syntax.
just be a full hemisphere. You may want,
Oh, absolutely.
some
but
30-degree angle-y thing.
yes, around some point. Let's look at that, please.
Okay, yeah.
Dumb question. Has circles in 3D come up in this meeting previously? Because that's one of the most obvious holes and deficiencies that has been suggested going way back when, and comes up anytime you intersect planes with spheres or balls.
Yeah, that's certainly something I've wanted when working on documentation.
Discs
agree.
and circles. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So the question is, can we generalize the circle syntax to have a center that's a 3D, circle of 0, 0, 0, and then what does that mean? We've successfully done that for lines and points.
Well, we need to give the embedding plane somehow, right?
Yeah, well, right. It's probably some syntax, just like we have, with an arrow or something. If
it's going to be
lowercase a arrow, like rule.
Point radius and normal vector.
right, normal vector would be the most convenient in 3D.
So I mean, it could
Does
be,
it-
something
So
like
circle
that, where
c-
that's the normal vector.
Oh, another common use
or
is exactly as said.
or just use it, add it as a new third argument, and then it's easy to distinguish between the 2D and 3D variants.
But there is
Circle
already
already takes 3 arguments.
It does? What's the third argument?
yes.
Oh, right, I
Start and end
forgot.
angles.
Yeah, I forgot about those.
Well, I mean, it's easy to distinguish because we've got a
Yes.
triple here.
Yes.
Which, I mean, if we use an arrow type syntax, that I think should generalize pretty
Disk, for
widely.
example. Yes.
So rectangle, a 2D B spline, whatever.
Please Please look at it, okay? Seems
Okay.
useful to me.
I
The
should
third
add this to my
argument, but
notes to discuss with John and see how much he freaks out.
The other thing we could do is to have something where we say, I don't know what the right note word, embedding plane or something.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. If you just use the 2D syntax, but you have some wrapping embedded plane.
Right.
And if you need multiple planes, you have
Honestly,
multiple
that
embedded
seems
planes.
better to me. And use the 2D, use 2D circles and so on. You could have a whole 2D picture of a, whatever. This is then very much like texture.
Wouldn't it be like embedded plane?
Yeah, it's the wrong name.
Right,
Really
and
need
probably
really
you
need the
need
normal
more
vector
than
for the front end
just
angle.
the plane. You need, like
And a
for the
direction.
third argument of circle with the angles,
right.
you need some, what the baseline is, basically.
Right. I think this is the right way to do it because I think this is the thing, this is basically like texture, right? Which is a thing which takes a 2D object and puts it into not just 3D, but that's, that puts it on things, right? This
Mhm.
is just taking I've needed this a whole bunch of times. Take a 2D graphic. I think we've had, packages that do this going back 30 years or more. Take a 2D graphic and embed it in 3D.
Mm-hmm.
This is the right approach. This is the right thing to do.
Yeah, no, I've certainly lost count of the number of times in linear algebra examples where I've used parametric plot 3D just to draw a circle or an ellipse as I generalize an example from 2D vectors to 3D vectors.
Yeah. Well, so let's design this. This isn't quite right. Can we bring that back in another meeting, please? A suggestion for how to do this.
Okay,
Okay.
let's put
Uh,
this on LCC so John will be there in case there are any hidden.
So I think the obvious thing is that this should be an embedded frame, because if the object doesn't have symmetry, you still need to know the x-axis.
Okay, I don't think these are the right names because I think it's basically a I don't know what the right name for it is, but we all
Mhm.
agree that it's going to have it's going to have either, for example, it should be able to take an image in here. Or it could take, a graphics object or a region or whatever else, a
Mhm.
2D thing, basically. I don't know what the right name for it is. And then it needs a way of specifying what its, what its frame is, so to speak. Make sense?
Yes.
This is a good primitive. Honestly, I remember dealing with this in the early 90s. I think there was a package, maybe it still exists somewhere for dealing with this. Okay, can we just geometric? Oh my gosh, this is a geometric algebra thing. Is this yours, Nick?
Yeah.
Oh. Conformal geometry is something we should be thinking about. This looks nice. Is this recent, Nick?
Yeah, well, a couple of months, yeah.
That's recent.
Yeah.
Something we should look at. Conformal. Yeah, especially since we're now getting hyperbolic geometry a little bit into the system. Primitive to polygons. Let's
Yeah.
bring these up another time. These are not
Okay.
the most important. Can I talk about this one here? Because I would like to get
Yep.
this one done.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all understand the concept. It's basically a convenience function for combining block random and seed random together. I guess
Yes.
my main question is there anything else to it beyond that? I had thought, oh, maybe if we could have an operator form, but we run into the sub-value
Evaluation.
hold problem.
But
You know, the
well,
sub-value hold problem. Go ahead.
isn't this just block random with the random seeding
It
option?
is.
So
No,
Yeah.
wait a minute. With the
Yes.
random seeding option,
yes,
does it have a random seeding option?
We went over that in the email when you
Not
first
really.
brought this up.
under options.
Yeah, I see it. The thing is, okay, there are 2 points here. First question is, are we ever going to solve the sub-value holding problem? Maybe we should take a crack at that. Maybe we should think about that one.
We've we started on something and we can, but it seemed to
It
it
might
basically
mean,
it fell behind the other priorities, but we can certainly bring it back.
by the way, Gray on our live stream reminds us that a 2D graphic in 3D is often called a billboard.
Is it?
Absolutely. Billboarding and things of a, yes.
Okay, I've not encountered that. Is that particular to some context or?
No, I think it's a common thing in exactly
Probably a
this one.
term.
I mean,
Term of
Inset is
art and
capable of
graphics.
doing that.
What's
Say
that?
again?
I said Inset is capable of doing that. But I mean, it does, when Inset in 3D billboards, you always look at the 2D thing head on. Even if you rotate the scene, you still see the.
Oh, right.
You know,
That's what billboarding means, right? Billboarding means you're always looking at it head on. You're right. So it's
Right.
actually a different thing. This is an embedding plane that actually is in the user coordinate system of the 3D graphic. Okay,
So-
anyway, can
so-
we, could somebody add to the project list sub-value holding, please, to the
I-
global project list?
Well, I would presume it's already there, but if
It's
not, we
not.
can make sure.
It's not.
Okay, and it's well, there's certainly an LCC ticket about it, and Carlo made an attempt and had we needed to bring Tom and Mark in, and then Carlo got busy with other stuff. But we can circle
Okay.
back to this.
All right. I think with random seeding is obviously useful. And
I I just disagree unless we add something beyond block random with the random seeding option, right?
well, except that, look, I have code all the time where I wrote it without thinking about seeding. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And then I want to add seeding to it. Now, obviously, I can just put seed random semicolon at the front of it, right? And maybe that's the right thing to do. I mean, that's what I do all the time.
I don't see how with random seeding helps you with that beyond just using block random with the random seeding option. Right? If it had like an operator form or something.
Yeah,
Well,
if
for
it
one
had
thing,
all right, fine. So let's.
I suggest we revisit it once we have solved sub-value holding.
Okay, fine. Let's put this in the same sort of project list, project items as an example of where sub-value holding is useful.
Okay.
Okay.
And I'm also not entirely sold on the name, but that we can postpone
all right,
that
fine.
discussion.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is from that discussion of, what are some other integer sequences we might want beyond Fibonacci and 3 Morse. Eric put together some of these based on the.
Yeah, I mean, to me, these are, if they are standard and.
A lot of them are trivial. One that's not trivial is the simple graph count, which is nicely analogous to our finite group count.
Right. I mean, I think, well, I know, I suppose we would want to talk to people like, Adam and Devendra. I mean, having something that just evaluates, sure, right, that's pretty trivial. If you want to do anything with it and like, simplify
Generated
or
and
just,
find sequence function.
Yeah.
Well, you had asked at one point sort of what are sequences that the OAS considers useful. So I think there's a link up at the top, and they mostly don't look all that interesting to me. And they include these, and the other ones that are interesting, like Kolakowski and Golem, don't seem particularly useful. They seem very specialized to add as a general symbol in the Wolfram language.
Also, are a bunch of special functions. I mean, the question is, do these things show up in places? I mean, I've used this, but only for itself. So
exactly. Yeah, that's true for me as well. Whereas the trivial ones like the Padovan and the LQ and the Tribonacci do actually come up in like finding closed forms for combinatorial objects enumerated as a function of size.
Well, there's a certain argument that these are linear recurrences and that we should just we have a linear recurrence function, right?
We do, but it doesn't typeset very nicely.
Well, then that's a different problem to solve.
And it's hard
because
to write
each one
formulas.
Of these is what's that?
It's hard to write closed form formulas involving linear recurrence.
What do you mean by that?
Well, let's say you go into Sloan's database and you have some sequence that is Pell P plus Padovan P. I can obviously write that.
Hold on. The main problem is this. That doesn't do anything.
Right. Yep.
Okay, so I think that's because any sequence which is just a linear recurrence. I mean, remembering that I don't know which the Tribonacci is another linear recurrence, right?
Yes.
It's just that kernel, 111 kernel, right?
Yes.
Basically this. So I should be able to generate. Does it have an operator form? See, what about that? An operator form of linear recurrence. And then being able to do things with that seems more useful to me.
Looks like it.
Yeah, I mean, and this, for example, should be your Tribonacci numbers if we just go. And I mean, it's certainly going to be efficient and things. What the hell is that doing? Oh, that's interesting. Can we get, so, okay, look, I think linear recurrence needs a bit more work. Oh, look at that. So the operator form, for example, could just give that value. See what I'm saying? And then the operator form becomes something very much like these various functions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for Tribonacci's, it's actually 111001, I think.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
I think this is the place to go for some of these. Is let's try and get a function form of linear recurrence. Now, some of these, we've got TUI Morse, which I certainly have used a bunch of times. I don't know whether these are substitution systems. Are they?
Looks like it.
That seems very trivial. Lucas
Yeah.
L n comma 2. That seems way too trivial. What's Fibonacci comma 2?
It's the Fibonacci polynomial evaluated at 2.
Oh. Well, I mean, it would be useful to say this somewhere, that this is the case. That one I've certainly heard of. Oh, I see. Okay. The graph counting thing, you know, I want to be able to just generate a list of graphs. I've needed that a million times. Just give me a list of graphs. And I use graph data and it's kind of annoying and it's got named graphs and so on.
And it's
I
not
just
really
want-
what graph data is for. Yes, you want something else.
Right. I want a list of graphs with certain properties. Can we investigate making that? I think we may have some WFRs that do this, but obviously we need, there are many choices of what it means to have, I mean, graph data of n for small n does generate all the graphs, but the thing is we need, perhaps with the new iterator stuff in the compiler, I mean, what we really want is give me graphs that satisfy some graph theoretic criteria. See what I'm saying? Like it's basically something
It's like graph distributions without any probabilities.
Something like that. It's enumerate graphs, and then it's basically a criterion. So that could be something like vertex count, of hash is less than 10, and simple graph Q of hash and whatever, right? I don't think anything other than that is going to be all that useful, because I think you want different criteria for what the graphs are. See what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying?
On the one hand, yes. On the other hand, to be efficient.
No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about what we want design-wise. Right?
Yeah, you have to be able to do planar graphs, regular graphs, polyhedral graphs.
Right, but all the things for which we have graph, Q criteria, right? So the issue is, can we take something like this and compile it into something where we can then efficiently enumerate graphs of that type? Do you see what I'm saying? Can we take the function and compile it into something which allows us to enumerate graphs of that type? Am I making sense? Do you understand what I'm saying?
I'm missing something, because how is that not having to generate all the graphs and then picking out the ones you want, which is the hard part to do efficiently. Yeah,
obviously.
Yes, the being clever part is clearly the hard part.
Yes, that's right. That's the hard part. But clearly, if we say vertex count is less than 10 or vertex count equals 10, we're off and running. We got something there. Simple graph queue, right? So the idea would be to see whether we can, if we take this thing and we have certain graph enumerators of certain types of graphs, like simple graphs, like et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, whether we can use those graph generators, having already sliced the thing down by the things that we recognize in the string here. Do you see what I'm saying? And then the other criteria that say, how many crossings something has or whatever else, those are applied to the list that we have so far pruned it to. Am I making sense? Anybody understand what I'm saying?
Honestly, no, but this is not my domain of expertise, so.
Ian, do you understand?
I just think of the pure function's kind of bizarre way to specify that, instead of just like an
the only
association
reasonable way
where
to
you
do
say
it. The only flexible
simple graph goes to true, vertex count goes to whatever. With a pure function, you might think you could put like arbitrary stuff in there.
You can. You can. That's the whole point. You slice it down as far as you can with the things that work with. I mean, look, we could have something where it says, simple and this and that and the other, right? But that's going to get to be an incredibly ornate syntax that we're going to have to reinvent a bunch of graph functions for.
Well, I was wondering about the analog with date select, where we have all these parameters and we basically use named slots that correspond to either existing functions or some parameter, where you can say, hash vertex count equals or less than.
That's not a bad idea.
it may not be 100% transferable here, but that's a
a
similar
good start.
situation.
Yes. I mean, we could do things like this on tuples as well. And this is also something, I mean, look, this is a general category, but this is something clearly useful to be able to do enumeration of graphs. We already have tuples, permutations, things like this. So the obvious thing here would be graphs and then some characteristic. You see what I'm saying? Does that make any sense to anybody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should talk
It's like
about
it's like random graph, but you're not sampling. You're exhaustively listing the space.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. It's an interesting function. I certainly would have used it many times. So let's have a think. And okay, we got to wrap it up here. Talk
Okay.
to you all soon.
All right. Thanks
Okay,
all.
see ya.
Yeah.
Bye.